final characteristic I want to talk about the naturally adapted diet is that it was much lower in sodium than what we're accustomed to eating today. Now we kind of know that salt is not great for us and we're all trying to reduce our salt quantities. So I want to take the argument a little bit further than that. What is important in particular as far as the biochemistry is concerned is the salt to potassium ratio. Turns out this is quite an important factor. Back then in our savanna environment, these bushmen, whoever, were consuming a ratio of roughly 1 to 5 of sodium to potassium. And in today's world we've almost inverted that ratio. We're consuming 5 times as much sodium as we are of potassium. Turns out that's quite important. We kind of know that sodium is a problem for blood pressure for many people, that it scars the arteries directly, which of course provides a seat for cholesterol to collect and create plaque in the arteries. We know that sodium is a calcium antagonist, so that by having too much sodium, then it is driving calcium out of the body, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do when we're wanting to build bones. But more importantly, perhaps, at the level of the cell is constantly having to pump sodium out of the cell against a gradient and bring potassium in. This is what it looks like. In other words, what we're doing today is increasing that gradient. We're increasing the concentration of sodium in the bloodstream and in various body tissues, and the cell then has to work extra hard to get the sodium out of the cell into the bloodstream and drag back a deficiency almost of potassium into the cell where it's needed. The result is cells sicken and die. That, of course, is undermining our health in all kinds of ways, whether it's attacking organs in various kinds of ways, in ways perhaps we don't fully understand yet. But what we do know, we don't have to micromanage this. All we have to do is to make sure that we are not eating very much sodium and that we are getting the potassium. And how is this done? Hey, we just don't ever use any free sodium, and of course we try not to eat any processed foods, and even eating out in restaurants, of course, is a big problem because the chef puts a lot of salt into everything to make it tasty. Because back then, in our savanna environment, there wasn't any free salt. The only sodium that the bushmen get, or the human foragers got, was what was intrinsic into the plants and in the animals that they were eating, which wasn't a lot. Whereas the potassium, hey, what do you know, that is one of the micronutrients present in the kind of plant food to which human beings are naturally adapted, and which is also absent in many of the kinds of non-animal foods that we eat today. So that's how we've switched the seesaw over. We're now adding salt to everything in ways that was never possible in the past, and we're not consuming the right levels of potassium in the food supply. That ends the main features of the human diet. And we'll then go on to talk about how it all went wrong.
Everything Geoff Bond says in these videos and a whole lot more is to be found in his book, Deadly Harvest. Check it out at www.deadlyharvest.com.